Welcome to Caroline Effect, where we uncover the hidden psychology of attraction, confidence, and meaningful relationships to help you understand what truly creates lasting connection. Most men believe attraction begins when a woman says something, but the truth is, it often starts long before a single word is spoken. If you know how to recognize the silent signals she's giving, you'll stop second guessing yourself and start seeing opportunities you used to miss. Stay until the end, because these subtle body language cues could completely change the way you approach women and understand attraction. Before we dive in, there's something every man should understand. Despite all the conversations today about independence, confidence, and personal boundaries, many women still appreciate being approached by a man they genuinely find attractive. The difference is that they rarely announce it directly. Instead, they communicate through subtle body language. If you don't recognize those signals, she may simply assume you're uninterested or that you don't have the confidence to make the first move. You've probably heard advice telling men to never approach women unless they're invited, or that if she's interested, she'll come and start the conversation herself. But real life is usually much more subtle than that. Most women don't openly say, "Come talk to me." Instead, they give small, natural signals and hope the right man notices them. Sometimes they even feel disappointed when those hints go completely unnoticed. Think about it for a second. A woman could be sitting across the room, making eye contact, smiling, and sending every sign she's comfortable with you approaching. If you never walk over, from her perspective, it can feel as though you rejected her without saying a single word. The good news is that these signals aren't impossible to understand. They aren't secret codes that require years of studying psychology. Once you know what to watch for, many of them become surprisingly obvious. The biggest problem is that most men are either too nervous, too distracted, or simply unaware to recognize what's happening right in front of them. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 body language signs that often suggest a woman is comfortable with you approaching her. I'll explain each one in a simple, practical way so you can stop second-guessing yourself and start noticing these signals with much more confidence. Let's begin with one of the strongest indicators of all: eye contact. Many men underestimate just how much can be communicated through a simple glance. They're waiting for something dramatic, like a woman walking over or openly introducing herself, but that's rarely how attraction begins. More often, women create opportunities for a man to make the first move, and sustained eye contact is one of the clearest ways they do it. Here's the important distinction. If she looks at you once, don't read too much into it. People naturally look around the room all the time. But if your eyes meet, she holds your gaze for a brief moment, looks away, and later looks back again, that's much more meaningful. That second or third glance is where real interest often begins to show. Women generally don't continue looking at men they have absolutely no interest in. If she repeatedly finds herself looking your way, there's a good chance you've caught her attention. Unfortunately, this is exactly where many men miss an opportunity. They convince themselves they're imagining things, assume it's meaningless, or become too hesitant to act. Yet repeated eye contact is often her quiet way of saying she's open to interaction without putting herself in the vulnerable position of making the first move. It's less about chasing you and more about inviting you to take the next step. Imagine you're sitting in a coffee shop. She briefly looks up from her laptop. Your eyes meet. She gives a soft smile, then returns to what she was doing. A few minutes later, it happens again. That repeated connection usually isn't random. She's creating an opening and hoping you'll notice. If you never respond, she may eventually assume you're either not interested or unwilling to approach, and the opportunity quietly disappears. The biggest lesson here is simple. Pay attention to her eyes. They often communicate what she never intends to say aloud. Now let's talk about another signal that men frequently misunderstand: a smile. Not every smile means romantic interest. Sometimes a woman smiles simply because she's polite, friendly, or trying to make a social interaction comfortable. That's completely normal. The mistake many men make is assuming every smile carries the same meaning. It doesn't. When a woman genuinely hopes you'll approach her, her smile often feels noticeably different. A polite smile usually appears and disappears quickly. It's brief, controlled, and mostly serves social courtesy. Think about the smile someone gives after accidentally bumping into another person in a store. It's friendly, but emotionally neutral. A smile connected to genuine interest tends to linger a little longer. It softens her entire expression. Her eyes become more engaged. The warmth feels personal rather than automatic. Instead of simply smiling at the situation, she seems to be smiling directly at you. The difference can be subtle, but once you notice it, it becomes much easier to recognize. Women rarely give repeated warm smiles to someone they actively hope will stay away. And when that smile appears alongside repeated eye contact or open body language, it often becomes an even stronger sign that she's comfortable with you starting a conversation. The challenge is that many men immediately doubt themselves. They assume they're reading too much into the moment, or convince themselves it couldn't possibly be directed at them. Because of that hesitation, they let opportunities pass without ever knowing what might have happened. Learning to recognize the difference between simple politeness and genuine warmth can make approaching someone feel much more natural and much less intimidating. Many men notice a woman smiling at them, but immediately dismiss it. They tell themselves she's simply being friendly, and sometimes that's true. But here's something you don't hear often enough. Women usually don't repeatedly give warm, inviting smiles to men they have no attraction toward. We understand that a genuine smile can encourage a man to come over, so we don't typically offer that kind of attention without a reason. The important thing to remember is this: if her smile feels genuine, personal, and keeps happening throughout the interaction, don't automatically convince yourself it means nothing. It may be her quiet way of letting you know she's noticed you and is comfortable with you making the first move. Now let's look at another signal that's often overlooked: proximity. Body language isn't only about facial expressions, it's also about where someone chooses to position themselves. When a woman is interested, she may naturally find reasons to be closer to you. Think about it. Most women are very aware of personal space. We usually don't keep drifting into the same man's space by accident. If she repeatedly ends up nearby, chooses a seat close to you when other options are available, lingers in the same area, or keeps finding herself within your view, it may be intentional. These actions are rarely dramatic. They're usually subtle. She might stand close enough that starting a conversation feels easy. She may slow her pace as she walks past you, spend extra time near where you're standing, or casually remain within your surroundings longer than necessary. Often these moments happen so naturally that most men assume they're coincidences, but many times they aren't. Why does this matter? Because women generally dislike rejection just as much as men do. Walking up and starting a conversation can feel intimidating. Instead, many women simply make themselves more approachable, creating an opportunity for you to take the next step naturally. In a quiet way, she's saying, "I'm here, and I'd be happy if you came over." A man who doesn't understand these behaviors may ignore them completely. A man who pays attention recognizes that repeatedly choosing to be nearby can be a meaningful sign of openness. So if she consistently places herself within your space, don't dismiss it too quickly. It could be her way of making it easier for you to approach. Now let's talk about something even more revealing than words: body orientation. One mistake many men make is paying attention only to what a woman says, while completely ignoring what her body is communicating. Someone can be talking to friends, looking busy, or acting completely relaxed, yet their body may quietly reveal where their attention truly is. When a woman isn't interested, she naturally creates distance. She may cross her arms, angle her body away, or point her feet in another direction. Those reactions often happen automatically. But when she's comfortable and interested, her body tends to open instead of close. Her shoulders may naturally face you. Her feet or knees often point toward you. Even if she's speaking with someone else, you may notice her upper body subtly leaning in your direction rather than away from it. These aren't always conscious choices. They're often instinctive. This matters because attraction isn't always expressed through direct words. Many women communicate interest through openness rather than bold statements. It feels safer and far less vulnerable. Of course, don't analyze every tiny movement in a crowded room. Context always matters. But if you repeatedly notice her body naturally turning toward you whenever possible, that's worth paying attention to. Even if her conversation seems casual, her body may already be telling you that you've caught her attention. Finally, let's talk about one of the most recognized attraction signals: playing with her hair or accessories. It may sound cliché, but there's genuine psychology behind it. When a woman becomes aware of someone she's attracted to, that emotional energy often shows up through small movements of her hands. She may lightly touch her hair, run her fingers through it, tuck it behind her ear, adjust her necklace, straighten a bracelet, or smooth her clothing. These gestures aren't always about appearance. Often they're unconscious signs that she's become more aware of how she's presenting herself because someone has captured her attention. Imagine you're standing across the room from a woman. She's talking comfortably with her friends, but every few moments she touches her necklace, adjusts her earrings, or brushes her hair back, while occasionally looking your way. If those gestures become more noticeable after eye contact, there's a good chance she's become more conscious of your presence. In many cases, that's her quiet way of saying she's aware of you and doesn't mind being noticed. At the same time, it's important not to jump to conclusions. Women also touch their hair or adjust accessories when they're nervous, thinking, bored, or simply out of habit. That's why no single body language cue should ever be viewed as proof of attraction. The real key is looking for several signals appearing together: repeated eye contact, a genuine smile, choosing to stay close, open body language, and subtle grooming behaviors. When multiple signs appear at the same time, they paint a much clearer picture than any one gesture ever could. The important part isn't just the action itself, it's the overall picture. A woman might touch her hair when she's bored, stressed, or simply thinking, but if she's smiling, maintaining eye contact, leaning slightly toward you, and her body language feels relaxed and welcoming while doing it, that's a very different situation. Those signals work together and often suggest she's comfortable with you approaching. On the other hand, if she avoids looking your way, keeps turning her body away, seems tense, or looks uncomfortable, those same gestures shouldn't be interpreted as attraction. The biggest takeaway is this: women often communicate interest long before they ever say a word. Small adjustments to their hair, jewelry, or appearance can sometimes be subtle ways of showing they're aware of your attention and comfortable receiving it. Now let's move to another sign many men completely overlook. If a woman has no interest in interacting with you, she'll usually make it easy to create distance. She'll naturally move on, focus elsewhere, or quietly remove herself from the situation. But when she's interested, you'll often notice the opposite. She finds reasons to remain nearby. She doesn't rush to leave. She keeps herself within your view. This isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing the longer route instead of the shorter one, lingering in the same area after she's finished what she came to do, or casually staying where you can easily approach. Imagine she's standing near the bar. Her drink is already finished, yet she stays chatting with a friend or casually scrolling through her phone instead of immediately leaving. Moments like these can create an opportunity for conversation without requiring her to make the first move. Many women understand that approaching someone directly can feel uncomfortable for both people. Instead, they often make themselves easier to approach by remaining present. In a quiet way, they're communicating that starting a conversation would likely be welcome. Unfortunately, many men dismiss this as coincidence. But if someone repeatedly chooses to stay nearby when they could easily leave, it's often worth paying attention. Now let's talk about something equally important: timing. Even when a woman shows several positive signals, those moments don't always last forever. Interest often depends on momentum. If she continues making eye contact, smiling, staying nearby, and creating opportunities for interaction, but nothing happens, she may eventually assume you're either uninterested or simply unwilling to approach. At that point, her attention naturally shifts elsewhere. Confidence isn't about being aggressive, it's about recognizing an appropriate opportunity and acting respectfully instead of endlessly talking yourself out of it. That doesn't mean ignoring boundaries or assuming every friendly interaction is romantic. It simply means understanding that hesitation can sometimes cause opportunities to pass. Many men spend so much time wondering whether they're reading the situation correctly that they never take the first step. Meanwhile, someone else who notices the same signals may simply walk over, introduce themselves politely, and begin a conversation. That's why awareness matters, but action matters too. If the situation feels comfortable, the signals appear consistently, and the environment is appropriate, don't let fear make every decision for you. The final message is simple. Most women won't directly say, "Come talk to me." Instead, they often communicate through eye contact, genuine smiles, open body language, proximity, and small behaviours that make approaching feel more natural. Learning to recognise those signals can completely change how you experience social situations. Pay attention to how she looks at you. Notice whether her smile feels warm and repeated. Observe whether she naturally stays close, opens her body toward you, or creates opportunities for conversation. No single gesture tells the whole story, but when several of them appear together, they often paint a much clearer picture. And when you notice those moments, don't spend forever wondering what they mean. Approach respectfully, be genuine, introduce yourself naturally, and allow the conversation to unfold without trying to force an outcome. Now I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever looked back and realized you completely missed someone's signals? Or have you recognized those cues, started a conversation, and discovered your instincts were right? Share your experience in the comments because your story might help someone else become more confident in recognizing these moments. At the end of the day, the men who stand out aren't necessarily the loudest or the most charming. They're the ones who pay attention, understand social cues, respect boundaries, and have the confidence to take a genuine opportunity when it appears. Be observant, be respectful, and don't let overthinking stop you from creating meaningful connections. If you found this video valuable, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our weekly insights on attraction, confidence, and female psychology. The men who succeed aren't always the most handsome or the most charming. They're the ones who notice the subtle signals, respect them, and confidently take action. Learn to read body language with awareness Approach with genuine confidence, and remember that real attraction is built on authenticity, respect, and perfect timing. Until next time, stay confident, stay observant, and keep growing with Caroline Effect.